So this pattern of bodywork, especially footwork, is called, or comes from a piece of footwork called the chidori ashi, which means the plover step, plover being the name of a bird. The feet crossing over each other. It's also how Japanese people refer to like staggering like a drunk person, in a comical kind of fashion, like you'd see in a play, like staggering right to left, like Charlie Chaplin kind of thing. So it looks kind of like this, yeah. This is an extreme version going all the way down. When I was a beginner, my first teacher, Patrick Carroll, a wonderful teacher, had a theory that everybody learned better, or their bodies learned better when they were exhausted. So he would just like torture us with exercises at the old Butokuden in Kyoto until we were all tired, and then we would do kata. This was one of the exercises we used to do, and so I have unfond memories of it. But there's a lot to be learnt in it, including this step in which you were doing the chidori ashi, but halfway through you just follow the foot around, and all of a sudden you will find yourself 180 degrees turned without twisting the body, and while clearing the line. It's a good piece of footwork, and one that my sensei spent a certain amount of time making sure I got. I remember at the time. Keeping the body, lines in the body straight is one of the important parts of this. So I'm like twisting your body. I'm not putting torque into your knees, for example. And one way to think about that is that you are moving your rotating leg, or your swinging leg, your moving leg, from inside your belly. It's as if your thighs are rubbing against each other, rather than that your foot is pushing you around. And so this idea of moving the feet from the stomach and the hands from the chest, which is an extremely useful thing, is part of what is being practiced here. I myself never fully understood that until I saw a German piece of TV, actually. A German friend showed me of a woman with thalidomide who had no hands, so she had developed extraordinarily subtle and articulate feet. She could type and pick up wine and drink and poke you in the chest with her big toe and so on. And her feet looked like hands. She had developed them so much. And when I saw that, I realized that any part of the body can become articulate and intelligent. And in Kenjutsu and Jujutsu, the chest and the belly, the tanden and the waki, more or less, because they are further back from the feet and the hands, when you move from there, then you can move faster and more powerfully. And so this idea of moving the foot by like moving from the stomach. Lift your leg from the stomach, that's what the abdominals are for, and then slide one thigh against the other, which will draw your whole body around. It's a good idea to make sure your foot is your weight is in the ball of your foot, so that the body rotates on that point and doesn't get stuck. Make sure the heel has no weight in it. And that in itself is also very interesting, because it reinforces the idea that the leg extends right down to the toes. It doesn't stop at the ankle. In the same way that the arm extends right into the chest, it doesn't stop at the shoulder joint. And the legs extend right up into the belly. They don't stop at the bottom of the hip joint. And so articulating from the belly is the main point of this practice. It's also a useful step. I mean, practically speaking, done in a smaller way. I'm doing it in a kind of exaggerated way here. You can do it in a much more small and natural kind of way, where you just kind of flick your belly and turn. But that's smaller, what I'm doing there. And that has a couple of interesting things. One is that you're actually clearing the line. The other is that it's a very minimal movement. And the third is that it's actually aggressive. You are actually closing distance with whatever was behind you, as opposed to the previous draw where you are stepping off the line and going away from them to get space. In this case, you're actually getting off the dangerous line, turning to look, and closing distance, and possibly bringing whoever is behind you into cutting distance, or if not, their sword into cutting distance. So have a look at that, practice it. Next week or the week after, I'm in the middle of moving house, so I'm disordered at the moment, but moving, not house exactly, I'm moving to a cheaper room. But my schedule was a bit disorganized. But next week I hope to have a video of doing this whole set with a steel sword, so you can see how some of the taisabaki looks when you have a real steel in your hands. When you do, you'll notice that I'm much more careful with my back shoulder than I am when I'm doing this with wood. I try to make it a much cleaner line so that the back shoulder is not in danger when you draw. Anyway, this is the Plover step, chidori ashi. It's worth investigating very deeply, mostly as an exercise of how malleable and intelligent and articulate your belly can become as a controller of movement. So enjoy your training.